So now I'm going to talk about the interleaving on here. So interleaving is the one kind of concatenating, but we put the by order on the variable specified in the by statement. So in this concatenating, even this, so for example, for this example on grade 3, so you can see that from the grade grade 1, so you have the read and write and ID and gender scope type. They are completely common, but it only shows from by order of the ID. And for example, in this concatenating here, so if we have, so for number variable is the 1 1, but this 1 shows the just after the final reading of the set A. So number 1 in the dataset C just shows after dataset after reading the final observations in the dataset A. But here the question is, I would like to make this first observation in the data C shows just right after with on the number 1 on this dataset A, because they have the same number. So I would like to group them, or I would like to show by in order. So interleaving is the useful in that purpose. So in this case, you still use the one set statement, and then the use the by variable on here. And then in this case, when SAS interleaves data sets, the observation in each by group in the each data set in the set statements are read sequentially by order on the data sets, and the by variables are listed. And the new data set still have the has all the variables from the input data sets, and it contains total number of observations from the old input data sets. So for example, if I have a data set C and data set D on here, so here we have the data C num 1 2 2 3 and the one variable, and then value C1 C2 C3 C4, and the data set D has num 2 3 3 and variable D1 D2 D3. Then if you interleave this data set, you have the first SAS reads the data set, this first observation in the data set C, and the SAS reads the data set 2 and data set C and then C2 C3, and then now the data SAS reads the data set D with num D1, the num 2 and variable D value D1, because this num 2 is the in order it comes first from the C. So it comes first because it's a 2, it's a 3, so number 2 comes first. So SAS reads the first observation in this data set D. So we have the num 2 and then value D1 on this, which is from the SAS data first observation in the SAS data set D. And then now SAS reads the fourth observations, values 3 and the variable C4, and then SAS reads the dataset D with the second observation, which is 3 and D2, and the third observation 3 and D3. So in this interleaving, SAS reads the dataset and then it compare with the two datasets and then determines the order specified in the variable in the by-state statement. So if the value in the by statement, even though in the second dataset it has the priority than the first dataset, then the second observation in the second dataset can come in the order. So in here we have the ascending order by num, and with the variable value on the ascending order on the num variable, and we have values from the this variable var. For example, let's do the interleaving on grade 1 and grade 2. So let's do so if you interleaving by ID, so since we interleave by ID on here, and okay, let's print out this. So we have the common ID variable, and then so the SAS first reads the from the first observation, which has the ID 1 and the reading and writing score, and SAS reads the second dataset, because the second dataset there is ID 1, so it has ID 1, gender, one scope type, the public with the math, science, social study, with the 5361. So since this is concatenating, so in the first data set there is no math, science, social studies score, so it's going to be missing value. In the second data set, it does not have the reading and writing score, so it treats it as the missing value in here. Now the SAS reads the second data set, so let me explain again. So we have the 5 observations in this grade 1 data set, and we have the 3 observations in grade 2 data set on here. And then for interleaving, so we first read this first observations, ID 1 and grade and the gender 1, school type, public, read and writing score. And then since the second SAS data set there is ID 1, so by interleaving rule, so SAS reads the second data set. So that's why we have this the second data set, the observation from second data set. And next, the SAS reads the second observation in the first data set. And then now SAS reads the second observation from the second data set because it has ID 2. So we are doing interleaving by ID. So ID2 has a priority compared to ID3, so it has to be the second data set from the ID2. So we have these two observations. And then now SAS reads the third data set from the grade 1. And then SAS reads the third observation from the grade 2 data set. And then we show this grade and these two observations in here. And then SAS reads the rest of two observations in the grade 1 data set. Another example is the so we have the spring grade 5 observations, and then the 4 observations. So if you interleave these two data sets, then we interleave by ID. Then you have the SAS reads the first data set in the grade spring. And then SAS reads the first observation in the grade fall, because it has ID 1. And then SAS reads the second observation in the grade grade spring, and SAS reads the second observation in the grade fall. So we have this nice ordering by ID by this interleaving. So interleaving is very useful if you have the common variables, and if you want to concatenate by the order of your variables of interest, then this interleaving is very useful. Now, I would like to talk about match merging. So we can do the match merging to merge the two data sets into single observation according to common variable. So this match merging is the one-to-one combination of one-to-one reading and interleaving. So in the one-to-one reading, so we have overwrites the latest observation in the common variable overwrites the common variable in the previous in the observation. But interleaving is just order by the common variable. So in this case, we can use this merge statement. So in this merge state, and we have by statement, which is the interleaving portion comes in. So in this match merging, SAS sequentially checks each observation of each dataset to see whether by values match, and then combines into the one observation. So in this example, we have SAS dataset A and SAS dataset B when we have non-variable, and then we have variable A and non-variable variable exists in this dataset B, and variable B is in the dataset B. So if we use the merge statement, then this num1 is the common. So we have the A1 and B1, which is the this is the what I say, the combined, this merging is the combined combination of the interleaving and then one-to-one matching. So it matches on here and it combines, but the due to interleaving rule, it does not and then due to the one-to-one matching, so we have A1 and B1. Num2 has A2 and B2, which is they are common. And then 3 and 4, in this case they have A3, and then this is missing, so it doesn't exist. And num4 has the B3, and it does not exist, so then it is the variable A does not exist, is missing. And then it is sorted by this num. So this is the portion of the interleaving portion. And then this combination is basically the one-to-one matching. So each input data set in merge table must be sorted in the order of the values of the by variables. And then each by variable must have the same type in all the data sets. So in this match merging, it has all the observations of the input data set. So this is the different from the just the one-to-one matching, because one-to-one matching may not have all the observations from all the input data sets, but this match merging, it has all the observations. So this is the portion from the interleaving, which is the one kind of the concatenating. So if I do match merging, so let me show the data set again. So grade 1 data set has the 5 observations and grade 3 has 3 observations. So if we match merge by the ID on here, so we have to match merging on this ID on here. So here we have the gender and school type ID, they are common, and then gender of school type, they are the overridden by the second observations. And then we have the reading and write, and we combine the math, science, and social study score, and then we have to combine this the non-over the rest of last two observations in the grade 1. So this overriding on the gender and school type, that's the characteristic of the one-to-one matching. But we also combine the last two observations, which will not be read in the one-to-one matching. So due to concatenating characteristic of the match merging, so this number last two observation will be shown in the data set. So we have the rest of two of the observations in here. And then we do not have the math, science, social study score in the first data set, so they are going to be missing values. And then sometimes we need the match merging data set in descending order. So you can specify this descending ID, descending statement here. So we merge this grade 3 and grade 2 on order and the descending ID. So descending order. So this descending option indicates that input data sets are sorted in the descending order, which is largest to smallest numerically, or reverse alphabetical and characteristic variables. And then if we have more than one variable in the by statement, descending only applies the variable immediately follows it. So which means that if you have two variables, say ID and gender, descending only applies to the ID on here. So if you do the descending order on here, so ID is going to be, so the descending order, so it's gonna be 5 to 1. So we have these two observations from the first data set, which is the fourth and fifth of the observations, and then the 3 observations from the combined data set from the grade 1 and grade 2. Okay, I will talk about the rename the variables in the next video.